الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح إن الحمد لله, all praise and all thanks is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره. We praise Him, we thank Him, and we beg His guidance and His forgiveness. ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. And we seek refuge and protection with Him from the evil of our own souls, our egos, from the evil consequences of our actions. من يهده الله فلا مضل له. And whomever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses to guide from His infinite mercy, there are none who can misguide him. وَمَنْ يُضْلِلْ فَلَا هَادِيَ لَهُ. And whomever He chooses to lead astray from His infinite wisdom, no matter what you do, there is no one who can guide him. وَأَشْهَدُ أَنْ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ وَحْدَهُ لَا شَرِيكَ لَهُ. And I testify in front of all of you that there is no God, there is no deity who is truly worthy and deserving of our worship, of our love, of our prayers, of our sacrifice, of our dua, of our ultimate hope, except Allah, Him and Him alone and without partners. وَأَشْهَدُ أَنَّ مُحَمَّدًا عَبْدُهُ وَرَسُولُهُ. And I further testify that Muhammad, the son of Abdullah, is His servant and final messenger. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. O you who believe, fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Have a consciousness and an awareness of Him, the fear and the consciousness and awareness that He is deserving of you. And don't die. Don't you dare die except as Muslims. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة. O humanity, fear your Lord who created you from a single soul, from our father Adam. وخلق منها زوجها. and from him Allah created his mate, our mother Eve. وَبَثَّ مِنْهُمَا رِجَالًا كَثِيرًا وَنِسَاءً. And from them both, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He populated the earth with many men and women. وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ الَّذِي تَسَاءَلُونَ بِهِ وَالْأَرْحَامِ. And fear your Lord through whom you ask your mutual rights. And never cut the ties of family. إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ عَلَيْكُمْ رَقِيبًا. Because indeed Allah is ever a watcher over you. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَقُولُوا قَوْلًا سَدِيدًا. O you who believe, fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, have that consciousness and awareness of Him, and always speak the truth. يُصْلِحْ لَكُمْ أَعْمَالَكُمْ. And when you do that, He will repair your deeds. Maybe you came too early, or too late, or you did too much, or not enough. You tried to do something, but it wasn't quite right. يُصْلِحْ لَكُمْ أَعْمَالَكُمْ. Allah will make it straight for you. وَيَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ ذُنُوبَكُمْ. And will forgive you your sins. وَمَنْ يُطِعِ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ فَقَدْ فَازَ فَوْزًا عَظِيمًا. And whoever obeys Allah and His Messenger have achieved the greatest success that you could ever achieve in this life. In the أصدق الحديث كتاب الله. The best speech and the most noble and truthful of speech is the book of Allah. وَخَيْرُ الْهَدِي هُدَى مُحَمَّدٍ صلى الله عليه وسلم. And the best of guidance is that of our beloved and dear Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم. وَشَرُّ الْأُمُورِ مُحْدَثَاتُهَا. And the worst of affairs is to try to introduce something new into the religion of Islam. Because Islam is something that is so beautiful, it doesn't need any additions from us. Because Islam came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah is perfect. And so because Islam came from Allah, Allah is perfect, so by extension Islam is perfect. وَكُلُّ مُحْدَثَةٍ بِدْعَةٍ. And every time, brothers and sisters, someone tries to introduce something new into the religion of Islam, it's a religious innovation. And when you do a religious innovation, you are implying something even worse. كما قال Imam Malik rahimahullah, when someone tries to do a bid'ah, a religious innovation, فقد زعم أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قد خان الرسالة. You are implying that the Prophet ﷺ, he didn't tell us everything that we need to know about Islam, that there's something missing and you have to add to it. And you are saying that he cheated the message, what Allah commissioned him to do. And so it's a religious innovation. وَكُلُّ مُحْدَثَةٍ بِدْعَةٍ وَكُلُّ بِدْعَةٍ ضَلَالَةٍ. And every religious innovation is misguidance. وَكُلُّ ضَلَالَةٍ فِي النَّارِ. And every misguidance doesn't lead to anywhere except the hellfire. أما بعد. يقول الله سبحانه وتعالى في محكم التنزيل بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وأمر أهلك بالصلاة واصطبر عليها لا نسألك الرزق نحن نرزقك والعاقبة للتقوى. In this ayah, brothers and sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in Surah Taha, ayah number 132, something extremely important that every father and mother should be concerned about here. That every aunt and every uncle should be concerned about here. That every ma'alim or teacher should be concerned about. Anybody who has responsibility in the community, especially over our young, they should be concerned about. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in this ayah, speaking to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, وَأْمُرْ أَهْلَكَ بِالصَّلَاةِ. And command your family to the prayer. وَاصْطَبِرْ عَلَيْهَا. And be extremely diligent and keen and careful and patient and consistently patient on it yourself. وَاصْطَبِرْ عَلَيْهَا لَا نَسْأَلُكَ رِزْقًا. We don't ask you for any provisions. نَحْنُ نَرْزُقُكَ. Rather, we provide for you. وَالْعَاقِبَةُ لِلتَّقْوَى. And the good end is for those people who have a taqwa. In this ayah, brothers and sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He points out to us a framework about how to raise our children Islamically. Something that everybody here should be concerned about. If you're a father, you should be especially concerned. If you're a mother, you should be especially concerned. If you're a young man thinking to get married, you should be concerned. If you're a young sister, you should be concerned. Because this is something that every last one of us, especially living here in the West, in America, we struggle with in some way. All of us are wondering, how can I raise my children to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Not just when they're young, you know, when you can make them do what you want to do, but when they're 15, when they're 17, when they're 25, when they don't live with you anymore, that they still have some sense of Hawiyya Islamiyya, some kind of Islamic identity when they're not with you anymore. And Allah, in one ayah, He gives us a framework for that, brothers and sisters. The first thing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, وَأْمُرْ أَهْلَكَ بِالصَّلَاةِ, and command your family to the prayer. And how do we do this? You have to teach them. And how do you teach them? By talking to them. And we do it all the time for everything. You teach them about manners. You teach them about how to dress properly when they're young, how to eat properly, what they should do, how they should act. We teach them all of this all of the time. And brothers and sisters, even when it comes to their education, what did you learn today? What did you do in school? Who are your friends? You talk to them about it. You ask them about it, or you should. Most of us, we do this for our kids. When we think it's something important, we talk to them about it. The same way, brothers and sisters, that you talk to them about their education, you have to talk to them about their deen, about their iman, about the arkan al-Islam, about the arkan al-Iman. You have to talk to them about these things and discuss it with them. And like I said, we do it all the time, brothers and sisters. This is what my teachers, they taught me when I was studying, something that many of us we do. You eat together with your families. You sit down, mashallah, at a ma'idah, even eat from one plate in our culture. Some we go on vacation together. Some we make sure the whole house we go to sleep at the same time. Some you go on, right? We do things together the same way. The same way you have to do that for the religion, for the deen of Allah. There has to be some kind of discussion and dialogue, some religious talk between you, fathers, with your sons, with you, mothers, with your daughters. This is something that we have to do. And I'm not saying that it has to be something extremely high level. It doesn't have to be high level. You don't have to be a sheikh or imam to talk to your children about Juz Amma. Do you have to be sheikh, alim, to say what is the tafsir of Surah Al-Nas, Surah Al-Falaq, or Juz Tabarak, or the 40 hadiths of Imam Al-Nawawi? This is something every last one of us as adults here, we should all know this. At least for Juz Amma. At least for those simple hadith. I guarantee you, if I said, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, all of you know the rest of the hadith. وَإِنَّمَا لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مَا نَوَى. These simple things that you talk to your children about it. The life of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his biography. When was he born? The battles that he fought, the sacrifices that he made. When did he go to Medina? Who were some of his companions? The life of scholars. Sir A'lam, the luminaries and the people that we should be looking up to in Islam. Share those kind of things and talk to them with them. But this is something that every last one of us should be doing when it comes to our young. And this is something, because if you don't, brothers and sisters, it is a musibah. If you do not do this, if you do not discuss and dialogue with them, it is a great tragedy. Why? Because one of the tragedies that has already happened, yani it's past tense, it's not just happening right now, it's been happening for a long time, is that the religion of Islam in our daily life بس هو رقوص وحركات لكن بدون روح بدون معنى في الحقيقة بدون شعور. There's no feeling, there's no spirit, there's no breath into our living Islam. It's just some rituals. We wash, we fast in Ramadan, and that's it. But why? What do we do that for? For ourselves, and then to explain to our young. This is a big tragedy. For many of us, this is in our community happening. If your children ask, Baba, why do we do this? Ummah, why do we do this? Abaya, why do we have to do this? This is just what we do. That's how we do it. It's Ramadan, 29 days, 30 days, khalas, best. We're going to the masjid. Why? Just because it's Ramadan. We have to. Just do it. But look at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al-Jabbar, Al-Qawi, Al-Aziz. Does he have to explain anything to us? Does he have to explain why you have to do something? Can't he just tell you do it and you have to do it because he's Allah? But still Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he takes the time to explain to us why we have to pray. Inna salata tanha anil fahsha'i wal munkar. He tells us why we have to pray. He didn't have to. He tells us why we fast. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kutiba alaykumus siyam kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. He explains why you fast. But he's Allah. He doesn't answer to anyone. But he takes the time to explain to Miskeen, me and you. So shouldn't we take the time to explain to our children? To engage their mind and their hearts? Why we're Muslim? Why do we fast? Why do you wear hijab, little girl? We have to talk to them and explain to them. Because when you don't do this, ayyuhal ikhwa wal akhawat, when you don't do this, you know what that means? That means there is no tafakkur. That means there's no tadabbur. And if there's no tafakkur and tadabbur, there's no motivation. There's no inspiration. And tafakkur and tadabbur, it means to reflect, to think about something. Allah says in the Quran, أَفَلَا يَتَدَبُّرُونَ الْقُرْآنِ. Don't they reflect and think about the Quran? If you don't do that, your iman will be weak. Your iman will be weak. And I assure you, brothers and sisters, just because you take your kids to the madrasa or the duksi, Saturday and Sunday, how many days of the week do we take them to school, public school? 5 days a week. Only Saturday and Sunday. You have Islam, Iman, Allah, Rasul, Sunnah, Yawm al-Qiyamah, and then Monday through Friday, everything else. Will the Iman be strong enough to fight against that? Illa man rahimahullah. Illa man rahimahullah. There will be a few of us who, they make it out because the parents are really strong. They make a lot of dua. They had no other choice. They couldn't afford to go full-time Islamic school. But for the rest of us, Allahumma musta'an. Nasallallahu salam wal afiyah. So we have to discuss with them, ayyuhal ikhwa wal akhawat. And we have examples of this. Umar ibn Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala an. He had a habit when he was the Khalifa of the Muslims. He used to, in the beginning of the night, ibadah for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, pray. Then of course, because he's the Khalifa, he's the leader of the Muslims, he goes out and he checks in Medina, in the streets, make sure the people, their needs are fulfilled. And then after this, what does he do? Then he comes home and he makes some more ibadah. But when he does now, he does something a little bit different than the first time. When he goes to pray Qiyam al-Layl, he wakes up his family. And when he wakes them up, sometimes they don't want to get up. وفي بعض الروايات إذا أبوا رش على وجوههم. If they didn't want to get up, they're tired, then he sprinkles some water on their faces. No. We have to do this together. We have to pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because he knew this is the best time to pray. كما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ينزل ربنا تبارك وتعالى إلى السماء الدنيا كل ليلة حين يبقى ثلث الليل الآخر. نعم. فيقول من يدعوني فأستجيب له من يسألني فأعطيه من يستغفرني فأغفر له حتى ينفجر الفجر. Allah, He comes down in that last portion of the night asking, who needs from me? Who's calling on me so I can give them? But the point here is what? That Umar ibn Khattab, he used to do it by himself? No, with his what? His family, his wife, his children. Because for many of us, we say, and this is wrong. In a wrong way, we introduce emotions. They say they're so small, they're so young, they're only 7 years old. Let them sleep, they're tired. It's not fard, it's not wajib. We don't have to make her wear hijab now. Wait till they're older when they can decide for themselves. We want them to make the choice. And I ask you a question then. If your kids, in the morning, they say, but I don't want to go to school today. Would you say, oh, he's young, let him, he's tired today, let him sleep? You would never say that. You'll tell him, get out of the bed now, before I make you go to school in your pajamas. Get up now. You'll drag them out of the bed if they said, Baba, I don't want, even if they were 7 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old, you would force them to go to school. But for Fajr prayer, for Fajr Salah, and وَأَسْأَلُكُمْ بِاللَّهِ أَيُّهُمَا أَعْظَمْ وَأَيُّهُمَا أَهَمْ وَأَيُّهُمَا سَيُنْجِيهِمْ مِنَ النَّارِ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. I'm asking you, which one is more important, which one is greater, and which one will save them in the day of judgment? Salatul Fajr, or that they go to school? I'm not saying school is bad. I'm just saying which one is more important. And I'm saying, I'm pointing to how much we put into one and we don't put into the other. Sometimes we go even the opposite. And the first thing, وَأْمُرْ أَهْلَكَ بِالصَّلَاةِ وَهَذَا أَمْرٌ وَفِي أُصُولِ الْفِقْهِ الْأَمْرُ يَقْتَدِي الْوُجُوبِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gave a command. And from the maxims in Usul al-Fiqh, when Allah gives a command, that means it's wajib, you have to do it. وَأْمُرْ أَهْلَكَ بِالصَّلَاةِ. Then the second thing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاصْطَبِرْ عَلَيْهَا. Then you yourself, you have to be patient on it. أَيُّهَا الْإِخْوَ الْأَخَوَاتِ. This part is extremely, extremely important. وَاصْطَبِرْ عَلَيْهَا. You yourself have to be extremely diligent, particular, and persevere, and be patient with the prayer and the command of Allah to command your family to pray. لأن الصبر ينقسم إلى 3 أقسام. Sabr goes into 3 parts. الصبر على أمر الله بفعل أوامره. Being patient with the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's the one who commands you to be patient and to tell your family to pray. وَالصَّبْرُ عَنْ مَعْصِيَةِ اللَّهِ. And being patient, staying away from those things that Allah made impermissible. وَالصَّبْرُ عَلَى أَقْدَارِ اللَّهِ الْمُؤْلِمَةِ. And being patient with the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even if your kids, they're hard-headed sometimes. Even when they don't listen, you still have to be patient in commanding them to pray. You still have to be patient in telling them that they need to pray and talking to them and your wife and the rest of your family. Even when it's not easy. How many times you hear a parent, his kid is 16 years old or their daughter is 17 years old, they say, Khalas, I tried everything, I washed my hands of them. I can't do anything for them anymore. How many times do you hear parents say that? Bas ud'u lahum. Just make dua for them. But they don't talk to them anymore. They don't do anything for them anymore. They still feed them. They still house them. They still clothe them. But to tell them about the prayer, to talk to them, to bring them to the masjid, remind them that it's Ramadan, they say, Khalas, wallah, I tried everything. وَاصْطَبِرْ عَلَيْهَا. Be patient with it. And of course, you yourself have to be doing it. Nobody likes someone who says something and he doesn't do what he's saying to do. From old people to young people, nobody likes this. Even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said in the Quran, even Allah, He doesn't like it. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, lima taquluna ma la taf'alun. Kabura maqtan 'inda Allah an taqulu ma la taf'alun. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, oh, you who believe. That means all of you here. Allah is talking to you. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, oh you who believe, why is it that you say what you don't do? Kabura maqtan indallah. Allah hates this. He despises this, someone who says something and then doesn't do it. So how now we can tell our children, for example, we see this all the time. We get up in the morning, make our kids eat breakfast on Saturday and Sunday. They put on their thobe, hijab, they get their book, they get their notebook, and we make them go read Quran. As'alukum billah, how many parents stay themselves at the masjid and then read Quran for themselves? They want their children to be huffaz. You want your child to memorize Quran, but you don't ever memorize Quran yourself. You don't read Quran yourself, but you are expecting your 10-year-old that they will become hafid, that they have to learn hingat, alif, ba, ta, a, i, u, ba, bi, bu, and then you don't even pick up the Quran. Does it make sense? Is that logical to do that for your children? You make them read, and then they don't ever see you reading, not one Saturday, not one Sunday, not any time in the home, not even at night. And I'm not telling you you have to read all day and night. I know your kids are free, but you have to work, you have responsibilities, but as'alukum billah, 10 minutes, 15 minutes at night to read at home if you can't stay at the masjid because you had to go to work. I understand. I know our community. We work hard. This is a blue-collar community. We have cab drivers. We work in factories. Many of us have 2 jobs. I understand. You work hard. We came from one life. We want to give our children a better life. But which one is more important that you give them? That you set an example of iman and taqwa in your house? Not just that you are expecting the imam to set the example. You are expecting the ma'alin or the mudarris or mu'allim to set the example, that you yourself are setting the example first. You are reading. And all of you, you know exactly what I'm talking about. How many of you are making wudu? You're getting ready to pray. If you have a small child, 2 years old, 3 years old, they have no idea what you're doing. And then they come and they try to put their feet in the sink. And then when you are praying and you are making sujood, you see it, your little babies, they come and they, Allahu Akbar, they want to pray with you. They have no idea what you're doing. But just because they see you doing it, they want to be like you. They want to follow your example, and they want to do what you do. And I'm not only speaking to the fathers, the same as the mothers. When you're in the house and you're doing your work, and you're doing whatever it is, and the adhan goes off on your phone or on your computer or your clock, that you stop whatever it is that you're doing. وَاصْطَبِرْ عَلَيْهَا. وَاصْطَبِرْ عَلَيْهَا. So now, you have to do this, أيها الإخوة, because we said Allah tells us that we have to be patient with this, but not only this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also says, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا قُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ وَأَهْلِيكُمْ نَارًا. O you who believe, save yourself. Save yourself and your family from a fire whose fuel is men and stones. I will give you one last example to show you what I mean, how important this is practically. When you go on an airplane, if you've ever traveled, and that lady, the stewardess, she gets up and she starts talking. Do you know what she says? Nobody knows what she says. Nobody pays attention to her. But when she gets up, what does she say? She says, in the case of an emergency and the oxygen mask comes down, whose oxygen mask do you put on first? For yourself. You put your mask on first. Then you put for the elderly, then you put for the young, the kids. Because if you don't have any oxygen for yourself, if you can't breathe, what use are you to those kids if in the middle of you putting on their mask before you even finish, you pass out from no oxygen? You are of no benefit. قُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ وَأَهْلِيكُمْ نَارًا. Save yourself. You should be practicing first. Don't tell them don't listen to music because it's 50 Cent or because it's Kendrick Lamar or it's some music from here, Rihanna, whatever. But when it's back home music, then it's okay. When it's the singers from back home, then it's okay. But when it's music from America, then you astaghfirullah, a'udhu billah, astaghfirullah. How can we do this? No. You have to set the example, then you tell them. واصطبر عليها. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم استغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. Brothers and sisters, I say what I say first and foremost for myself and then for all of you. I beg Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's forgiveness, and I exhort and remind all of you to do the same, because indeed He is the oft forgiving and the especially merciful. Alhamdulillah wahda wa kafa wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in wa man istanna bi sunnatihim ila yawm ad-din thumma amma ba'd. I say, brothers and sisters, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to send His peace and blessings upon the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this should suffice any man, and that he do the same for his pure family, the family of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and his good companions, and all of those who attempt to follow in their footsteps until the day of judgment. As to what follows. So, I'm certain, if I asked everybody here who has children, do you want your children to go to Jannah? Do you want them to have goodness? Do you want them to be good Muslims? Every last one of you would say, of course. How could you even ask that question? Of course we want good for our children. Of course we want them to have Iman. Of course we want them to go to Jannah. All of you would say this. But usually what gets in the way, even though we are well-intentioned, what usually gets in the way is our trying to give our children the dunya. Because many of us, especially our parents, or the generation before me, my parents, and those of you who are older, we came from back home. From Ethiopia, or Oromia, or Somalia, or wherever they came from. You come here, you have opportunities. Opportunities that were not afforded you back home. Or you had to leave because of some war, or because of some other problems. You don't want your children to suffer like you did. You want them to have a better life. You want them to have the good things. You want them to have all the things that maybe you couldn't have. So you work. And you work. And maybe the mothers, they work too. Because you want them to have a nice big house. You want them to have the nice shoes and the nice clothes. And so because of this, this is what usually gets in the way. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "La nas'aluka rizqa." We don't ask you. Allah is the one who provides. He didn't ask you for that. But this is usually what gets in the ways. And I have to tell you a not so big secret, brothers and sisters. If your children, if they don't have $150 Stephen Curry shoes, if they don't have $120 Jumpmans or some Nikes or some Jordans, wallahi, they will survive. They will be okay. If you don't give your children these things, they will be okay. Most people, they don't have all $150 shoes, $175 shoes, expensive. Most of the people don't have this. If you don't provide that for your kids, if they just have a simple shirt and simple clothes, they're covered, alhamdulillah, they'll survive. They might whine and complain a little bit for a while, but they will survive, they'll be okay. But this is usually what gets in the way for us. That's why you don't have enough time for your kids. That's why there are women in our community, she's married, but it's like she's a single mother, because the husband is always gone and always working. Do you know how many sisters, mothers in our community I have to sit and talk to? Because she says, help me raise my son. I say, subhanAllah, I think maybe she is a single mother. She has 3, 4, 5 sons. She says, no, the father is here, but he's always working, he's always gone. Then you say, subhanAllah. Allah says, La nas'aluka rizqan, nahnu narzuquk. Allah is the one who provides for them. No matter how much you work, their rizq is already written before they were even born. Before your children were even born, how much they're going to eat, everything they're going to wear until they die, all of it is already written before they were even born, before you even met your wife. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, نَحْنُ نَرْزُقُكَ. Even if you go to work, don't think I'm the one, I'm the man. I'm the one who goes to work, I'm the one who brings home the money, I pay the bills, I do this, I do that. Allah is Ar-Razzaq. Allah is As-Samad. He is the one who provides for everything and He doesn't need anything from us. لَا نَسْأَلُكَ رِزْقًا نَحْنُ نَرْزُقُكَ. Brothers and sisters, do not let the dunya get in the way of the akhirah of your children. Did you hear me? Do not let the dunya get in the way of the akhirah for your children. Fathers, your children need your presence more than they need your money. The nice things that you buy them, they need your presence more than they need your money. That you sit down and teach your son how to be a man. How to be a man that has iman. Daughters, for the mothers, they need your presence more. That you sit down and talk with them when they have problems at school, that they know when they come home they have someone who they can talk to, who can show them how to choose good friends. When somebody's mocking them or making fun of them because of the hijab that she's wearing, she knows she can talk to her mom and her mom will understand. Even if she says, I want to take it off, she says, I want to take it off. Because maybe she's in school and everybody's making fun of her. For a young girl, 12 years old, that hurts. But if she can't tell her mom, because if she tells her mom and her dad, Bob, I'm thinking about taking it off because everybody making fun of me and it doesn't, nobody else is wearing it. And what is the first reaction from the parent? Astaghfirullah, a'udhu billah. We would never do this. How can you say this? Back home we would never do this. MashaAllah. You have to be, they need you there more than they need money, more than they need nice shoes and clothes and the bigger house. They need you there. And you have to understand, brothers and sisters, what I'm telling you, understand this. What I'm telling you now, don't think like I'm some imam who came from somewhere else and who doesn't know what he's talking about. And I'm from Minnesota. I've been here since I was 12 years old. My parents are from East Africa, from Ethiopia. My father used to work 12 hours a day. So not only did I study deen, my experience, I know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm not some Pakistani sheikh, maybe from a different affluent community. I'm from right here. I went to Darsii maybe with some of you people. Some of you, even in this masjid, you used to teach me when I was younger. In this masjid, Tawfiq Islamic Center. I'm right from here. Some of the people on the board in the masjid, they know my family, they know my mom, they know my dad. I'm telling you from my experience what I know. Not just from قال الله وقال الرسول من الخبرة كمان. هذا الذي يعني علمني حياة. That your children need your presence more than they need your money. Because when you do this, when you command them, and you yourself are praying, and you are talking to them about the deen every day, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, something simple after Fajr, and 40 hadiths of Imam al-Nawawi, Riyadh al-Salihin, something like this. Then on top of that, you don't give all of your time for the money because Allah says that He's the one who provides. When you do this, وَالْعَاقِبَةُ لِلتَّقْوَى. When you put in that time for your children when they're 7 years old, when they're 6 years old, when they're so cute and so beautiful, and you can tell them to do whatever you want, when you put in time and invest then, when they're 15, when they're 17, وَالْعَاقِبَةُ لِلتَّقْوَى, then you will see what you like. When they're thinking about getting married, they're going to come and ask you for advice because you were there for them when you put in time, when they were young. How many times I talk to parents when their kids are 3 years old, you don't see them. When they're 10 years old, you don't see them. When they're 19 years old, the kids are 19 years old, Sheikh, save my son. Subhanallah, where were you when they were 17? Where were you when they were 15? Where were you when they were 10 and 8 and 4 years old? After all that time, now you want someone to save them. Some mystical, they're going to just blow on them some Quran, read some Quran, khalas, that's it? It doesn't work that way. هذا ليس من سنة الله. وَلَن تَجِدَ لِسُنَّةِ اللَّهِ تَبْدِيلًا. You're not going to find a replacement for the sunnah of Allah. You have to invest time, and when you do, you will see a good end. وَالْعَاقِبَةُ لِلتَّقْوَى. You will be pleased. When your daughter wants to go to college, and she says, I'm thinking about going to college out of state, Baba. She wants to go somewhere else. She'll talk to you, and she will take your advice and listen to you. Or when your son says, I'm thinking about marrying this girl, they will listen and talk to you because you were there for them. وَالْعَاقِبَةُ لِلتَّقْوَى. Then at that time, you will see what you like. And I ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He protect our young, and that He protect our children and our women, and that He protect our community. We ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He strengthen us and that He join our hearts together upon the book of Allah and the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala send His peace and blessings upon the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we ask Him to send peace and blessings upon His pure family, His good companions, and all those who follow them in righteousness until the last day. Allahumma arina al-haqqa haqqa warzuqna ittiba'ah. Allahumma arina al-batila batila warzuqna ijtinabah. Allahumma ati nufusana taqwaha. وزكيها أنت خير من زكاها وأنت وليها ومولاها يا رب العالمين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. اللهم آت نفوسنا تقواها وزكيها أنت خير من زكاها يا رب العالمين يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. وأقيم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح